Now, we've got a special guest in the studio this morning that's joined us. I must admit, he's an unbelievably fit-looking customer. His name's Xavier Wills. He's, I think, editor-in-chief of Capital Bodybuilding Radio. Xavier, good morning to you.
Thank you very much, Peter. Good to be on.
Yes, and Capital Bodybuilding Radio, what is it?
It's basically a radio show I put together. It's had a few little renditions. It's been, it was Aussie Muscle Radio when I was with another website, and now I've started my own nutrition company, Capital Tech Nutrition, and we've got Capital Wear, which is a clothing line. We decided to branch out on our own, and we've done about 50 episodes with a new rendition of it. And yeah, it's just basically me, a few of my bodybuilding friends that have been in the industry for a long time, Michael Galley and Joe Bender. Joe Bender's my business partner. Michael Galley is my co-host. He's been there for about 2 years now through a few renditions of it. And we discuss all bodybuilding, fitness related type things. We have, industry experts on the show. They talk about, training, nutrition. We talk to some of the big names as well, not just in Australian bodybuilding, but worldwide as well. So that's a lot of fun. And it's something I really enjoy, and I get to know the greater bodybuilding community and not just kind of stay in my own shell in my own state in bodybuilding. So it's really great.
I suppose it's a little bit of an insular pursuit, bodybuilding, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people kind of, especially in contest preparation, they go into their own shell. They don't get, they kind of lose their social life and stuff. And I definitely understand that, especially when I was first starting in bodybuilding. You'd kind of go, okay, I've got to have my meal at this time and this time and this time, and it's just easier to stay home and do it rather than trying to make the effort to go out and pack your Tupperware and all that stuff.
Yeah, I had a pretty, I think he was a pretty good bodybuilder working for me in the day job, and he was like Mr. Regiment. I think he was having 12 meals a day, and number one, no one could get to the microwave.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff he ate, like kangaroo meat and the like, I'd rather he heated up in the neighbouring premise than ours.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, heaven knows how often he went to the loo, but it was a very individual pursuit.
Oh, definitely. And a lot of people don't understand, but it's coming into the mainstream. A lot more people are more understanding, because it used to be, you'd pull out a Tupperware container and people would lose their mind for lunch, and someone brings in McDonald's and it's like, it's the norm. You know what I mean? So now it's a bit more accepted, and it's a broader type thing now, the fitness industry.
So I noticed on the latest episodes of Capital Bodybuilding Radio, Arnold Classic. You've got a lot of commentary about Arnold.
Yes.
Arnold's in today's Sunday Times telling the world that he's going to change the world one bodybuilder at a time. What is the Arnold Classic?
Well, the Arnold Classic, it started originally in Columbus, Ohio, so it was a big festival that's been going for years now, since I think the early 90s. And it was a standalone comp for years. So it was the Arnold Classic, which would contain a bodybuilding show. I believe eventually it added in female bodybuilding, which was much smaller back in the day. And then they'd have an expo associated with it. So they'd have, like supplement companies and stuff like that with all stalls, and then the bodybuilders would get out there, meet and greet people and all that. It's just grown over years. So originally they just had the one in Columbus, USA for years, and then it's grown. So basically this is only pretty much since Arnold had the infidelity issues and stuff like that. I think he had a bit more freedom to do what he wanted to do, and he kind of decided, okay, we're going to do an Arnold Classic in Europe. We're going to do one, now they're launching one in Asia. They're going to do one in Australia. They decided to do one on every continent in the world. And they've done that now, and I think the first one's in Asia this year. And yeah, they're basically covered everywhere. So we've got South Africa, Asia, Europe, a lot of different places. So he's basically launched that. There's an expo associated with each one, and Tony Doherty, who runs it in Australia, he does a fantastic job. He originally did the FitX Expo. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
Yeah, I have, yeah.
But it's basically turned into the Arnold Classic in Australia, and that's grown, and Arnold comes out, and he makes an appearance at each one of these Arnold Classics. So it's, 3 days he'll commit to 7 different Arnold Classics. That's 21 days a year, so it's 3 weeks of his year. It's, for such a big celebrity, it's a massive deal that they bring that out. But the Arnold Classic in Australia, there's not just bodybuilding. There's 20-something sports in each one, 30 or more in some of the other ones. Through the Arnold Classic Australia, I think they got, I don't know how many people it was through the expo, but I know it was around 60 to 70,000 people, I think. So it's just grown and grown and grown. Yeah,
no, he's a clever businessman too, is our Arnold, because I think he sponsors he's the endorser of realestate.com.au. So
yeah, I've seen that.
So he just happens to come to Australia and run a few ads while he's here. So he's pretty clever as far as that's concerned. Well, having a look at you, I can't see a hair on your arm. I don't know if I can see a streak of tan. Well, there's certainly not much fat there, so you must have competed recently.
Yeah, I competed probably, it was at the Arnold Classic, in the amateur division in classic bodybuilding, which is, classic bodybuilding is basically a height and weight restricted division.
Yep.
So you can't be overly too big. You're competing against guys that are around your same size. So It's more what I'm into, just the nice shape and the symmetry and all that type of stuff. So I competed there. I got 4th out of 13 guys. So reasonably happy with that. I had an injury leading into the comp, so I wasn't quite at my best. I did win last time when it was FitX 2 years ago, but still happy. 13 guys in my division, so yeah.
Yeah, and what, injury through training? Or?
It's actually on a foam roller. It was actually funny.
All right.
It wasn't too funny at the time, actually, but basically I was doing a bit of a stretch on there, rolled over a few ribs, heard a few pops, and yeah, that's about 3 weeks out of a comp, so it wasn't ideal. I thought, initially I was like, I thought I broke a few ribs, but I basically injured the cartilage, so
all right.
it wasn't too much fun.
So you've heard it first. Our guest in the studio is Xavier Wills. He's from Capital Bodybuilding Radio, and he is suffering a similar injury to Aaron Sandilands. Better looking bloke than Aaron, but they're both a little bit shorter, but they're both suffering the same sort of ailment. So tell the big question, the elephant in the room when you think bodybuilding, is obviously natural bodybuilding versus, dare we say, enhanced bodybuilding.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a massive question, and I mean, it tears a few, like there's 2 separate communities. There's the natural guys, and then there's the non-natural guys. And the natural guys generally they turn their nose up a lot at the guys that, compete in the or the more non-tested federations. So there's kind of a federation for each, and it's not like everyone that does the non-tested federation is on something, because I see some of the natural guys competing both, you know what I mean? So kind of varies a bit, but it's kind of is the elephant in the room, and everyone kind of talks about it. But I mean, it's across so many sports now, especially professional sports. So it's something that's always kind of evolving, and we obviously know what happened with the Essendon, with the peptide scandal and stuff, and that's still a grey area. I mean, I know you can still purchase these peptides in Australia legally as well. Technically you need a script now, but some of these websites you go on there and you buy a script, so it's a little bit confusing what's natural, what's not natural. I know even probably about 10 years ago you could buy Prohormones, which are basically designer steroids. They're basically steroids where they've changed the molecule, and because it's not the actual structure of a normal steroid, it'll be legal. You know what I mean? But bring that out, takes 6 months to get it banned, it'll get banned, but in the meantime people have bought this stuff up, and it's probably more dangerous too. So there's been a blanket ban now in America on Prohormones, but there's always the next thing that's coming out. So it's kind of, it's almost impossible to stop, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and there's always labs in China.
Exactly, yeah.
And of course there's the other thing is the vet industry, so inevitably they find their way into humans and vice versa.
Definitely, yeah.
So to be a good bodybuilder, percentage-wise, tough question, but how much of it is nutrition, exercise, and I suppose mental?
I say to a lot of people it's 100% of each, because if you do the nutrition,
that adds up to 300.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but it's if you're not doing 100%, putting 100% effort in with your training and not putting 100% in with your diet. If you're putting 10% effort in with your diet and 100% effort in with your training, I mean, it's not going to work. But obviously, diet's a massive portion of it. I mean, if you're training as hard as you can, but you're not eating any protein, you're not going to grow. You're not going to develop. You're actually going to probably atrophy and look worse. So that's a big aspect of it. But yeah, it really is everything. Diet is huge. I mean, I think that's probably the number one if you'd have to put it down to something, because if you want to stay in good shape, you've got to have the right diet, and you can do it with diet alone. You know what I mean? But you're not going to obviously have the muscular development unless you're training. So. And
what's your attitude on sugar?
Sugar, I mean, when used correctly, I suppose around training times and stuff like that, it's all right. But it's these refined sugars and just generally it's pretty common sense. The bad stuff is the bad stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm big on high fats with a lot of clients as well. So I mean, I do personal training, I do contest preps and stuff like that for clients. And, I'm big on having those high fats and high fat breakfasts. Typically be people say, eat the oats in the morning and stuff like that, oats and a little bit of protein or something like that in the morning to have your energy through the day. But generally they're spiking their insulin levels quite high and they're dropping, they're getting that getting into midday or like morning tea and they're already tired. You know what I mean? So it's fats are more sustainable, slower releasing energy source, and I just prefer to do it that way. And I find clients get better results too, so.
Very interesting. So how do our listeners hear more of you on Capital Bodybuilding Radio? What do you suggest they do?
Well, they can go either to iTunes. That's probably the easiest way. Most people listen as a podcast on there, so you can just search Capital Bodybuilding Radio. Mm-hmm. Also on my website as well, or our website, it's capitaltechnutrition.com, and you can just search on there. Well, basically, there's a radio tab on there, and you can go on there and listen to the podcast through there as well. But yeah, most people go through iTunes and check it out on there.
Excellent. So apparently you know a little bit about sport as well, so we might have you stay around in the studio and help me out throughout the next couple of interviews that we have. But thank you so much for coming in, Xavier, and sharing your knowledge with us on bodybuilding. I feel fitter just looking at you. We'll also put the link to Capital Bodybuilding Radio on our Sunday Sports Cafe Facebook page.
Brilliant.
Thanks for coming in.